Formula 1 arrived at Hungary for round 10 of the championship, and due to the high downforce and heat of the track, many teams bought upgrades to suit these conditions. This was the first weekend we saw the 2012 construction tyres being used in 2013 also, and we saw a lot of teams modifying their cars to help suit these tyres, such as Red Bull, as they introduced more of a curve from the main plane on the front wing to the end plate. You can also see that there are now larger slots to help the airflow over the new Pirelli front tyres. Also on the Red Bull, the camera mounts have been moved to the tip of the nose for that extra bit more downforce. And also they tested a double element monkey seat at the rear, similar to Ferrari. Red Bull also brought a different airflow conditioner on the sidepod. It featured a horizontal fin and also a vertical fin, to help keep the airflow attached to the sidepod as it travels down to the rear of the car. Moving on to Mercedes, and they introduced a slimmer periscope on their passive DRS which they tested on Friday. They also now feature the traditional bulge underneath the nose, like many teams have been using, however it is not as bulbous as others. Mercedes have also opened up their engine cover at the rear, just like Force India, to help cool the car in the hot conditions expected for the race. Mercedes have finally introduced a tyre wake slot in the rear wing too. This is to help cope with the wake of the rear tyre. However, McLaren removed theirs because they think the new tyres will not produce as much wake. And finally for Mercedes, they bought a new beam wing, run on the top image as you can see here. It is much more curved in the middle and at the edges, and it helps reduce drag and also speed up the airflow, producing more downforce too. McLaren introduced wider front nose pylons. These also angled inwards to the car, pointing to the turning vanes, to enhance the effects of these new triple element turning vanes. The air passes through these and to around the side of the car to help get the airflow past underneath the sidepods and to the rear of the car, like the 2012 car did. These parts were used in pre-season testing, and they have brought these back because the new tyres help fit the parts rather than the 2013 tyres used in previous races. And finally, they included 3 airflow conditioners on top of the sidepod, just like last year, where they have been using 2 for earlier on in the season. It was interesting to see that Lotus didn't have as many upgrades as the others, however they did have taller and more bulkier wing mirrors tested. It is rumoured that these were from the FIA to test them for a potential standard part for 2014. You can see that they are higher up and bigger for visibility, and they help stop teams of using them to increase the airflow efficiency over the sidepod and rear of the car. The last noticeable upgrade was with Toro Rosso, as they brought a larger upper mainplane on their front wing as it curved down more, to help cope with the twisty technical section in Hungary, which requires quite a bit of more downforce. In qualifying, it was surprising to see Lewis Hamilton on pole from Vettel. Vettel has been dominating in the Red Bull all weekend, and so has Romain Grosjean in third for Lotus. Mercedes, Red Bull and Lotus seem to be the top 3 teams this weekend, with Ferrari close behind. Mark Webber had a disappointing qualifying in 10th due to a failure of Kurz. And also just after qualifying, Grosjean failed a floor test. However, this was just from accident damage on the track, and Lotus were allowed to reinstall the same spec part and for it to be used safely in the race, keeping his 3rd position. The race saw Lewis Hamilton win for Mercedes, followed by Kimi Räikkönen, who 2 stops during the race. 3rd was Vettel, close behind Räikkönen, and 4th was Mark Webber, who too started on the hard compound, however couldn't do a 2-stopper like Lotus. There were retirements in the race from Nico Rosberg, who seemed to have an oil fire, and also Valtteri Bottas for the Williams, who too seemed to overheat and have some smoke exit out his car. Leaving Hungary, it still seems that Red Bull have a very quick car. However, Mercedes have solved some of its tyre problems, however they do still exist. Despite of the new tyres, Lotus still seems to have the upper hand when it comes to tyre degradation, and Ferrari still seem to be off the pace in their F138. Thank you for listening to my technical analysis of the Hungarian Grand Prix, and be sure to subscribe for the latest news and technical information on the cars, teams and drivers in the F1 2013 season.